Hi everyone, I'm Steve Stoller.
And I'm Shannah Haley, and this is Inside Plano, where we take you behind the scenes of our city.
We'll introduce you to the faces and places who help make this a great place to live.
And give us lots of reasons to love Plano.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stoller.
Hello, Shannah. It's so nice to see you.
I know, it's nice to see you too. Although technically, we are actually in the same office building and on the same floor in the same suite, but just in different offices right now.
Because we're practicing social distancing.
That's right. That's right. You know, you and I were chatting, just kind of going over show notes before we started recording. And, you know, I think we're all going through this whole, first of all, how do you get out of your office buildings and work safely? And now we're in reverse. How do we get back to work in our office buildings and do that safely? It's a process.
It is, and there's no easy solutions. It has to be well thought out, and you have to be smart about it. And the most important thing, of course, the priority is protecting everybody's safety and well-being.
Yeah, I was trying to think, the last podcast, were you at home or were you still in the EOC when we recorded? I remember I was here in the office, but I was like the only person here in the office.
Yeah, I think I was at the EOC because we were alternating. We were both there together for several weeks, and then they decided that it was probably smart, since we both have pretty important roles in informing the community, that we should probably not work together. So yeah, I think the last one you did, I was at the EOC and you were at the office.
Oh gosh, how things have changed. You know, audience, it's May 2020, and I think I speak for Steve and the rest of the entire world that it feels like March, April, May have all been one giant month. And I have no concept of time. And, things have changed really rapidly. It's been this giant seesaw, and we're all just trying to adjust. And we thought we'd maybe talk a little bit about that in the podcast. I hate to say we're very COVID focused again for yet another podcast, but that seems to be the topic of the spring. Wouldn't you agree?
It's still the life that we're all living, and unfortunately, we're not out of it yet.
Yeah, so you've been tracking the news as well as our cases, and I don't want to necessarily get into the case numbers because by the time somebody listens to this, those numbers will be completely out of whack. But here in the first quarter of May, what would you say is happening just based on your assessment of the numbers? Does it look like it's going up? Does it look like it's leveling off? Where are we?
You know, I've been tracking the numbers, and it's funny because some days we have very low number of cases in Plano and even Collin County as well. And then the next day it'll shoot up, and then it's really been a roller coaster of ups and downs. You know, over the long haul, we've been trending up in recoveries, which is a good number. So the other day we had the highest number of recoveries that we've ever had. But at the same time, we've also had the highest number of active cases that we've had. So it's been a pretty steady line, you know, with some bumps up and some bumps down, but not a steady decline at all.
I think, you know, all along the goal hasn't been to not have any COVID cases, although, you know, ideally in a perfect world, we certainly would love to see that. But the goal has always been to protect our healthcare providers, I guess, to simplify it. We wanted them to have ample resources to treat those who were sick and not have all of them hit the hospital at the same time, right?
Right. Yeah, and you know, the hospitalizations have been pretty consistent. They've been right around 15, 16 through this whole thing in Plano. So we've never really had a very high number of hospitalizations, which is another good sign.
Means people did what they needed to do. They stayed home as much as they could, limited their interactions outside of their home, and they were practicing safe social distancing and proper protection when they were out. You know, I find it interesting, you know, you're watching the news and the case numbers, and I'm watching the community and how people are reacting. And what I find is that people fall into two general camps. You're either in camp let's completely open the city and continue a virus. We can take precautions and move forward, or you're in camp, sit at home, and we'll let the virus pass. And, clearly the extremes of either side aren't sustainable, right? You can't just go out and not take precautions. And you also can't sit at home and wait for a virus to completely dissipate, because that's also not realistic. So really our focus right now as a city is, we want you to stay safe. And when you have to get out, whether that's because work is reopening or you need to shop, and of course, people need to work, that clearly we need to have a functioning economy. We want you to be safe and to be smart about that. And so that might mean that what we used to do just looks different and looks smarter. I know I personally wash my hands so much more than I ever did before. What about you? What simple things have you done to change, knowing that you're coming to the office more, you're getting out and about more, but you don't want to get sick?
I think with us, as with anyone, I think a lot of the responsibility for staying safe really lies with us.
Okay.
It's the people.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're slowly loosening things where people can go out and about to an extent, on a limited basis. But when those people go out and about, they have to wear a mask. They have to wear a mask. They have to practice the social distancing. So it's the time where we're taking those first steps. We can get out of our house. We can go to a few places if we choose to. And if we do, we've got to be really smart and careful as to how we do it.
Yeah, for sure. And it changes all the time. It feels like the governor has a press conference every week, and we're following the governor's guidance on what can open and what can't. And what's interesting is that just because a business can or is allowed to, it doesn't mean that they have to. Nobody's saying you have to reopen. So
that's correct. It's their choice.
Yeah.
But Shannah, I understand. But when I was a reporter, I would cover controversies, and I'd hear two sides of a story. And I could relate with both of them, and I could try to understand where each side was coming from. And there seems to be two types of thought here. One of them is there's a real hunger right now for people to want to return to normalcy in their lives, even a little bit of normalcy. I mean, we've never lived through anything like this in our lives, and some of us have been around for 60 plus years and never experienced this. And the other thought, of course, is everyone wants to remain safe and protect the people they love and themselves. So, you have to somehow draw a line there where when you do let people try to get back to normal, you really got to have the protections in place so that the other part of the equation, the safety, is met as well. And, I don't envy these people who are elected officials and in a position where they have to make these very tough decisions. Because it's tough. It is very tough.
And they're doing it with the information that's available at the time. So, that's a decision and a point in time. And information, as you and I both saw, evolved very quickly of understanding of the virus. Since it was new, nobody knew exactly how it would spread. They knew the process of it spreading, but what would that actually look like in a community? Nobody knew what was safe and wasn't safe behavior. So they had to make decisions and then walk that process through. So I'm with you. I think being an elected official, being a public health official would be really, really challenging, is really challenging at this time.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about, we're walking through, some of those changes in the city as well, reopening somewhat. It's not that we ever closed. Honestly, the city kept functioning. Trash service, digital libraries, a lot of great programming online from Parks and Recreation. People were working, but now, bringing people back into facilities that are members of the public, we're starting to do that.
We were in our backyard the other day, and I saw one of our waste services truck go by, picked up the trash. And I said to my wife, I thought it was really an amazing thing. I said, isn't it amazing that with this crisis, that we've never missed a single day of trash pickup? And it's been more than 2 months since this all started. That really says something. I mean, we take a lot of pride in calling ourselves City of Excellence. We've really tried our best to maintain what city services we could. And that's one where I think a lot of people take it for granted. The trash guys, and they pick up the recycling, they have been there without missing a trip.
So my neighborhood, they're doing a lot of construction work, and it's just been going along like gangbusters. So we still have had construction site supervisors from the city of Plano out checking the work that the contractors are doing. And, I don't know, they may even be working faster since there are fewer cars on the road. And it's been really nice to get that stuff accomplished.
Well, Shannah, I know we have a lot of things closed. We have some things on. Why don't we talk about let's start with what's open, and then we can talk about what's closed.
Sure. So, I mean, I think the closed section is pretty easy, because if you knew it was closed before, then you might assume that it's still closed now, except for the things that have reopened. The governor recently said you can do sports if you keep it to 4 people or fewer, and you can maintain social distancing. That means it's great for things like tennis and golf. And that means the High Point Tennis Center and Ridgeview Ranch Golf and Pecan Hollow are all open. Now, they've put a lot of things in place to make sure that you stay safe. So you may see a lot of people out and about at Pecan Hollow, but it's 1 person per cart, and you can't take the pins out. So they've put precautions in place along with cleaning protocols. So that's one big change for those who want to be out and about and do some actual sporting events.
I drove by Ridgeview Ranch the other day when I was riding my bike, and there were 4 guys golfing together, and I was watching them as I was approaching up on my bike, and they were practicing social distancing. Each one had their own golf cart.
Yeah.
4 golf carts, 4 people.
It's pretty easy to do. You don't have to stand next to each other if you don't want to. Of course, our playgrounds are open, and the drop-in practice fields. Now, the athletic reservable fields are not open yet. You've been tracking the stuff that's been going on at Arbor Hills. So Arbor Hills Park is open, but not all the time, right? Because of the heavy use?
Right. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe on Wednesdays, there's a closure period so that they can do some maintenance.
Yeah, and rest and recovery, really, too, because many people came to that park. And I don't think it's all day. I think it's a majority of the day, but it's open in the evening.
Yeah, and then they close part of the parking lot because we just, people are striving to get outside, and our nature preserves, both nature preserves put together, if you look at the acreage, it's larger than Central Park in New York, and they're beautiful. And it's so nice to get out and walk the trails, and people, again, they have that hunger to get outside, and we probably had more people there than we should have had. So we shut down one of the parking lots to try and limit the number of people who are coming in.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Our library, all 5 locations have been really, really busy and pushing out great programming, fun things on Facebook. They're going to continue doing that. They are offering some additional services. The buildings are not open yet. You can't go in, can't study inside the library. But one thing that's reopened, the book drops, which is great. I know a lot of people were stuck with materials at home, and maybe after the 5th reread of a book, you were ready to get it returned. Well, you can do that now. You can also return specialty items and pick up holds. And that all happens outside. It's called porch side pickup. So that's great. You can start to get some new materials checked out to take home. There's a little bit of a delay because, of course, those books go into quarantine. They go into quarantine for 72 hours just to make sure that there's no virus, so you can be assured that you're getting good, clean material back when you check it out after it's been returned.
Shannah, let's talk about the Plano Events Center.
Yeah.
So it's too early to schedule events there, at least in the interim period, because we still don't want large groups of people. But it is open for people to go and make an appointment to check out and maybe plan down the road in the future.
That's right. They just need to call. The event center staff are there. You can make an appointment and you can have a walkthrough. And of course, those kinds of things make it very easy to do social distancing because that's by appointment service. Honestly, it works that way at Municipal Center too. Municipal Center is open, but we ask that when you get here that you call and you can arrange, you don't have to make an appointment in advance, but then somebody can come meet you. They can leave things for you at the Action Center. And that's just so that we can make sure that we're limiting face-to-face interaction. We want to make sure that people are staying safe. I was thinking of the word clean, which seems like a strange word, but honestly, yes, we don't want to breathe on each other if we can help it. We don't want to touch things and increase the chance of passing a virus. Because the interesting thing about COVID is the amount of asymptomatic carriers. You might be carrying the virus and you don't even know it. And one thing, we don't require it at most of the buildings, but we do ask that you consider wearing a mask. It'll keep you safer. It'll keep our staff safer. Our staff are following that same protocol. It's not required, but it would be a great thing if you choose to wear a mask. So you'll notice signage on city buildings that says please be safe, stay safe, be smart, please wear a mask. And the next time, we're not wearing a mask in this video that we're recording, but when our staff starts to come back to the office, we'll be wearing masks too when we're interacting with each other, just to make sure that we all stay healthy.
And there's some more good news.
Yes.
You like pets, which all of us do,
Yes.
and you might be interested in adopting a dog or a cat. Our animal shelter is open.
Yeah. Yeah, no appointments necessary anymore. They've got protocols in place, and interestingly enough, they're somewhat low on animals while we're recording this. I don't know how long that'll stay the case, but you might want to check out on Pet Finder to find your perfect pet, but you don't have to make an appointment anymore to go. So that's a great thing. Let's talk though. We're doing the podcast a little different today, besides doing it on Zoom, which I guess now is becoming our new normal now. We're not doing just one guest today. We are going to really focus on an issue that we saw trending in the city as COVID has evolved. And we might do that again next month too, because each month it seems like there's a new issue that we're trying to pivot and meet the need. Our senior community is one of the faster growing communities in Plano. It doesn't mean that Plano is becoming an old city or anything like that. I actually see it as a positive. We have a lot of young families. We have a lot of mid-aged folks, and we have a lot of folks who've decided to retire and call Plano their forever home. Their kids are coming back. Their grandkids are here. It's a very sustainable ecosystem in terms of a population mix. But wow, what a challenge COVID has brought. So that was one area that, Steve, you and I talked a lot about, like, how are we going to help our seniors? And, you have some folks that are still working that are considered seniors. We won't talk about that for those 65. I'm only saying that because you said that earlier. But we do need, how do you help folks when all of a sudden your support system is maybe closed off to you?
Yeah, it's amazing some of the programs that we've put in place that really are geared to kind of keep an eye on the seniors and to let them know that we care about them and that we are looking out for their welfare. And the three people we're going to interview, we can talk a lot about that, some of the things that the city's doing.
So Plano, we hope that you enjoyed this discussion that we're going to have with three of our key team members who've really been investing time in the senior community in Plano. They do it all the time, but especially during our COVID response, they put into place some really interesting solutions, and there's some great resources that you may not be aware of that they're going to talk about. And again, resources come online all the time, so it's entirely possible that by the time you listen to this podcast, there will be even more things available. So we hope you enjoy the conversation today. All right, folks, in Plano, like we said, we're talking today about our senior resources that we put together specifically during the COVID response. And today, instead of just one person, we're going to be interviewing three individuals who played a key role. And we want to make sure that you know them, understand the work that they do, and know that there are resources available to you, or to friends, family members, loved ones that you know need resources. So with us today, three individuals: Brent Blakely from Plano Public Library, Marini Tackett with Plano Parks and Recreation, and Shanice Small, who's with our Plano Neighborhood Services group. Steve, I think you're going to work through the questions with each of our
Sure.
folks.
Welcome to Inside Plano, everybody. It's so great to have you with us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. Well, Mary, let's start with you. Efforts to slow the spread and the impact of COVID-19 caused a lot of our city facilities to close, including our very popular recreation centers. How did these facilities adapt to continue serving the needs of Plano seniors?
Well, the first thing we did was establish online recreation centers. And centers, I use that word loosely, but through our website, we set up craft ideas, class ideas, and, just pretty much took what we could from our normal day-to-day and put it in a digital format. And through that, there are links to YouTube videos to do yoga at home, to do aerobics at home, to, take as much as we can at home. So that's kind of been one big thing that we've been working on throughout all of this, and actually something we're going to keep once all is said and done. It's been a great platform. On top of that, we have daily Facebook ideas, posts, examples of things to do at home going out. I'm going to say the wrong thing, but I think today is Thoughtful Thursday. So you can, we created an online journal that you can fill out. And I don't know all the other little catchphrases for the days of the week, but it's just a way to keep people engaged, to remind them we're still here. And don't forget about us, because we'll be back. And, let's keep this as positive as possible and keep giving people something to remind them of us and keep them engaged.
What are some other ways that our seniors can stay connected?
So something that our Sam Johnson Recreation Center does on a regular basis when they're open is called their Trendsetter newsletter. And they have adapted currently to an e-Trendsetter. Normally, it is a schedule of all the classes, the cafe menu, everything that's going on at the facility. So on the flip right now, it is instead of the day-to-day, it is caregiver tips. It's links to resources regarding health, mental health, housing, food resources. They're still doing a staff spotlight and a volunteer spotlight. And the feedback we've received from the seniors is they love still seeing pictures of people that they know and that they're used to dealing with on a regular basis. Along with that, and kind of back to the Facebook information, the woman that works at that facility that kind of runs the kitchen or runs the cafe, she's been posting recipes, and she's even showing them how to make it. So some of the real popular recipes at the cafe, one of which was minestrone soup, she did a whole how-to with the ingredients on how to make it. And that's been real popular. Also something that we've continued, and Shannah could attest to this, is Sage. And we've linked a ton of resources in that for them to, don't forget about all these resources, stay connected, and it's just a plethora of information for them. And one other thing that we've encouraged people to do is our parks are still open. So while the rec centers may not be open, don't forget you can walk in one of our 85 parks. Most people live really close to a park. And we've actually put staff in the parks to help keep them safe, remind people of social distancing. And I personally have monitored Jack Carter Park, and it's been really nice to see a lot of the same faces. And I see a ton of seniors out there. They are definitely taking advantage of this great weather we're having, getting out there, walking. I see a ton of bikers, which actually kind of shocked me, because I see a lot of senior bikers or cyclists. I guess they're not bikers. And then a lot of dog walkers. So I think that's been a real positive program, and just another way to keep them out and about as much as possible right now.
Marini, I understand that the Wellness Center for Senior Adults has reopened, of course, located at the Sam Johnson Recreation Center. What services do they offer there? And are there any special protocols that people who go there need to follow?
Yeah, they are still open. They're offering the same services as before, just kind of general health checks, and you do have to call, make an appointment. What they're doing right now is when you arrive for your appointment, you have to call, let them know you're there. They will escort you into the building, and they are doing a temperature check before you can come in, just to make sure that, you know, everything's okay and you are safe to come in. Something they are continuing to do that they've always done is practice good hygiene, general cleanliness, and extra sanitation, but they have also implemented social distancing. The only main difference right now is if you need counseling or social services help, those are all phone in conversations and meetings. But other than that, it's pretty much just business as usual, just kind of on a limited capacity by appointment only.
Thank you very much, Marini. Let's talk to Brent Blakely. Brent, of course, the manager of our Maribel Davis Library. Brent, we have an amazing program that you're overseeing called Senior Care Calls. Let's talk about what that's all about and also the importance of social interaction.
The program is involving the staff. We have staff that started with staff from the libraries, and we've added staff from the Plano Center now and the Recreation Department. They make calls to seniors that have signed up to be contacted. They call every other week, and they spend anywhere from 10 minutes to, I was just looking before the call, up to 25 minutes, 30 minutes talking to seniors about a variety of topics. It's a social interaction call. Many of the people that are being called have been isolated by the need to shelter in their home, and some are with a spouse, and many are by themselves. And this is an opportunity for them to have an interaction and just talk about things that are concerning them. It's not a pitch about library services or park services. It's a what's going on in your life, what would you like to talk about? And they cover a wide range of topics. I mean, we've had some people that are suffering through some serious illnesses, and they don't go to the doctor now. They're doing virtual doctor visits. And we have other people that were volunteers, or they were working in the schools, and that was their social outlet. They would go out a couple times a week or every day and go to those locations to work. And they don't have that now. And this is another opportunity for them to have a chance to talk to somebody just about what's going on in the community. We had some staff members that worked on another project about which retailers were providing special hours during the shelter at home period for seniors. And many of the seniors that we've talked to were not aware of those hours. And this has been a way for them to find out that they can go to their grocery store at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's a time that's just reserved for seniors. So not only is it a social opportunity for them, but we've had the opportunity to share some, I think, really important information for seniors, so they don't have to go in the middle of the day when it's elbow to elbow in some of our stores.
Brent, you got any good stories from some of the people who've been making these calls to our seniors?
Well, I had several people have felt they've created a personal connection with the individuals, that for them making the call, it's just as meaningful as it seems to be for the person that they're calling. They find the warmth that these people that they're contacting give back to them because of the fact that somebody's taking the time to contact them and spend some time with them to see how they're doing. And the fact that the city of Plano is doing this for them is an even bigger impact for them, that it sends a message that, yes, the city does care about all of the citizens. And sometimes, the seniors tend to maybe not be as vocal or as visible in the community, but they are there, and this is a great opportunity for the city to connect with that population.
Thank you, Brent. It truly is a great program, and I know it's received a lot of media attention and also served as a role model for other cities, not only in Texas, but across the country, to keep an eye on their seniors as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've been contacted by several cities in North Texas and about how we do the program. So I think it is meaningful, not just us, but I think it's meaningful for other locations too and other communities.
Shanice, we haven't forgotten about you, I promise. Last but not least, with our Neighborhood Services Department. Well, let me ask you this. One of the biggest challenges that we've seen with COVID-19 has been, of course, the impact on the pocketbook. For those who might be renting, what options, what help is currently available to them?
So our homelessness prevention program is administered by the Assistance Center of Collin County. It provides up to 3 months of rent and utility assistance to Plano renters who meet the income guidelines. So we're always referring there first to people with any rental or utility needs. They also have to have an eviction notice in order to receive help for that program. If for some reason they aren't eligible through our homelessness prevention program, I have contacts at different churches and nonprofits that I reach out to see and make sure that they get the help that they need.
Shanice, we're hearing a lot about food insecurity and tremendous growth in that area. Let's start by giving us an explanation. What exactly is food insecurity?
Food insecurity, especially with our seniors with very fixed income, basically it's when they are focused on, covering their rent, utilities, medications, and they don't have enough money to purchase the food that they need. So unfortunately, there are, quite a few in that category. But I don't know if many people know there are about 8 food pantries in Plano. So during this time, I've been referring a lot of people there. The Salvation Army in Plano, they started a delivery program for the elderly community. So that's been great. They just call the number to schedule a delivery. And then Meals on Wheels, when I make referrals there, they haven't been doing their daily meal delivery, but what they're doing is delivering a 2-week supply to those that participate in their program so they can have the food they need. And then they evaluate over the next few weeks to see if they need an additional meals during that time.
Shanice, are there any other ways that neighbors can help provide support for their senior adult neighbors that might need a little help?
Yes, and that's very important during this time. Our Best Neighborhoods team, they have something called Best Break via Zoom. So it gives a chance for neighbors to connect. It's every first and third Wednesday at noon or 4 p.m. And to be able to connect with your neighbors, all they would have to do is email to best@plano.gov in order to be invited to that Zoom call. So that's a really great initiative that's been started. And in addition to that, we have neighborhood help cards. So these can be picked up at the Neighborhood Services Department lobby, and they're cards that just say, your name, number, if you need help picking up groceries, medications, and neighbors can drop this off to their senior neighbors and help them get the items that they need while practicing social distancing, of course.
Thank you very much. Shannah, as you can see from our 3 great interviews today, we really are focused on helping the senior citizens that live in Plano, a group of people that right from the very beginning of the COVID-19 crisis were targeted as the most vulnerable to the disease. So I think the outreach that we've done in several city departments, as you see here, has really helped let them know that they haven't been forgotten and that we're really here for them.
Absolutely. And I think I would also add that, we have 3 people here on the line with us, but they represent a whole group of people that are working with them. Brent mentioned there's a full team working, not just from the libraries, but at the event center, from Parks and Recreation, Neighborhood Services. What it does is connect resources with community partners, with residents. I mean, they're all about the partnership business, and they're there to help get you to who you need to be connected to meet that need, because resources are finite, but they are the finders of the resources, and it's impossible to put a value on that. Marini, we didn't mention, but she serves as the staff liaison to the Senior Advisory Board, and really in that role has insight into what our senior community is giving us in terms of needs and information all year round, not just during COVID. So these are 3 great people that represent a lot of hard work by the city, and we would want our residents to know that doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter where you live in the city of Plano, we care about you, and we want to make sure that your needs are met now and tomorrow. And so we're always bringing new resources online, and we want you to reach out to us. And I think I can speak for Marini, Shanice, and Brent, and Steve as well. If you know of something that we are not currently providing, or you don't know how to find it, let us know, and we will work really hard to find a solution that's workable, because that's our concern. We want to make sure that you're healthy, that you're safe, and that you're taken care of if you're here in Plano.
Shanice, Marini, Brent, thank you so much for joining us on the Inside Plano podcast today.
You're welcome.
Thanks for inviting us.
Good interview as always, Steve. Interesting
Thank you.
people.
Good people.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about that there's always something that we don't know, and we're having to adjust and bring things online. I think the same thing's true with the podcast too. You get emails and phone calls from residents all the time asking for additional ideas and things that we should provide, don't you?
We love to get your feedback.
Yeah, so I guess, at this point, it's really easy for us to do the podcast because we can just do it on Zoom and release it out to you all. So if there are other things that you would like to know, more information, Steve and I are in the information business, finding what is our phrase, the faces and the information that are behind the city of Plano, so that you have more information to live your life and get access to things. We'd be happy to come back and talk about those. So just let us know. Ask Plano at plano.gov. Leave us a rating and a review. And otherwise, we'll talk to you next month, if not sooner, here on Inside Plano.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Yes, be well. Bye.
And that's it for our Inside Plano. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did doing it.
If you have any comments or suggestions, send them to us at askplano@plano.gov. Bye!
Talk to you next month.